Welcome back to Seeking the Sacred. The next video in the series is about the card known as the Fool. The first tarot card I ever noticed in James Cameron's original film Avatar from 13 or 14 years ago is the Fool card. And the reason I noticed this is because I was actually deeply in resonance with the Fool card. And I literally was living on the side of a cliff in Portugal. I was walking along the cliff every day. I think there was a little white dog that was actually on the cliff sometimes. And I used to muse to myself how funny it was that I was somehow in the Fool card. I was living that archetype at the time. And I just so happened to watch James Cameron's Avatar while I was resonating with the Fool card, and I was looking at the Fool card every day. And I noticed that there are a few frames of that film which could be seen as a stylized version of the Fool card. And I thought about that very deeply. And that's what unraveled all of this awareness that all 22 of the major arcana of the tarot are actually also in James Cameron's Avatar. Without the Fool, I never would have realized the others. But this is the Fool card. So the first thing Jake does when he's finally in his Avatar Na'vi body is he gets assigned to be security on the helicopter for the scientists. And he goes on the helicopter, they land in the middle of this weird jungle for the first time. It's a completely unknown world to him. And they're doing science and he gets bored. And there's an aspect of Jake's personality that we see over and over and over, which is his foolish, childlike curiosity gets the better of him. Right? He's always touching things. You know, in multiple scenes, he's like fiddling with things in nature, and he's amused just by his own curiosity and by his own interaction with things because he's very childlike and very innocent. And that is the archetype of the Fool, right? So on this first mission, when he's security for the first time they ever go out into the forest, he gets bored and his childlike innocence and curiosity gets the better of him. And he walks away a little bit and he touches these weird flowers and they shoot into their stems. And he finds himself in a confrontation with this weird bull rhino creature. And then he soon realizes that it's actually not that much of a threat to him. But then he finds himself in a conflict with this large black cat lion thing, right? And he realizes that this actually is a threat to him. So then he runs and he tries to fight it and he tries to shoot it and it's not really working and everything. And then he's just running and running and running. And then all of a sudden you see him running off a cliff with a giant black cat on his heels. And this is the moment when I watched this in 2016 that I realized this could be interpreted as a stylized version of the Fool card in the tarot deck. Except instead of a little white dog at his heels while he's falling off this cliff, Jake, in the original Avatar film, has a giant black cat at his heels as he's being chased off the cliff. But it has the same meaning, really, because if you know anything about the tarot deck, most people think of it as more a tool for fortune telling. I personally don't think of it that way. I think of it as a system of archetypes and as a story. And the story is actually the journey of the Fool through all of the archetypes in the Fool's development and evolution into the magician. And this is the moment in the film Avatar where the Fool's journey begins, with falling off the cliff or being chased off the cliff. And it's the same in the tarot deck, where because of his childlike innocence and sort of having his head in the clouds in the tarot deck, he takes a step off a cliff, falls into the water, is baptized, into this new life and begins this journey with all of these interesting archetypal figures that teach him all these things. And through all of that, he becomes a greater and wiser being and becomes a fully embodied version of himself and a master of himself and a master of all the elements, and becomes the magician. Now, Jake, on the other hand, gets chased off the cliff, not with a little white dog at his heels, with a giant black cat lion at his heels, but the same thing. He falls into the water, is baptized into this whole new life. He finds himself in this completely different situation than he would have been in had he not been chased off the cliff by this giant black cat. He would have just been following around these two scientists for weeks or months or years, who knows. Instead, because of falling off the cliff, he gets swept down the river, and he ends up in this place where then Neytiri's up in a tree, and then he meets with her, and then she introduces him to her father, which is the Emperor card, and her mother, which is the High Priestess card. And then the High Priestess says, you need to teach him to be one of us. We need to see if he can learn to really understand what it is to be a Na'vi. And that's the Fool's journey. And he moves through all of the archetypes after that. And so this is the Fool card. I know it doesn't look exactly the same, but the same symbolism is there. And as he falls into the water, it begins the same journey. And if you watch the other videos that go along with this, you will see that he meets with all the other archetypes in just the same way as in the tarot deck. This is the Fool card. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see other videos like this, remember to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that anytime that I upload a new video on this channel, you will get a notification. And also, what did you think of this video? Do you think that I got it right? Or did I leave something important out? Please let me know in the comments.